I mean, back when I was at Business Insider, I was in charge of 300 headlines a day, driving 60 million unique visitors every single month to one of the most traffic uh, content sites in the world. And I understand what people will click on and what they find attractive.
Matt Johnston, what's going on, man? How are you?
What's up? Good, man.
So, how's the weather up back east right now? Is it muggy? Is it rainy? Is it nice?
It's raining. I lost power for like 36 hours
Oh,
this week.
wow.
Yeah, it was nasty. It was nasty. I don't know what the deal was. Um, but yeah, like overnight it was terrible, and then the next morning I had to run out to Harbor Freight, get a generator, haul it over here, pour some gasoline in it. It was the worst. We haven't been through that in a long time. So it's been stormy. It's gloomy out. But yeah, I don't know. I don't lose power very often, but when you're a homeowner, these are the kinds of things you got to deal with.
Well, at least you have the ability to get a generator, and it worked out.
Yeah,
There's nothing worse than when you need to buy a generator and they're not available.
I know. Well, I was like, there was like a line of us coming out of the store, like with big ass. These things are like these $500-600 gigantic generators that you just wheel out of the store. There was just a line of us coming out with them. They were out of stock by the time that I got out of the store. I was there like banging on the door. It was so funny. But yeah, it was all right.
Man, so for 36 hours, and it was based on just some storm that rolled through, huh?
Yeah, I mean, it probably just knocked. The wind was nuts, so it probably just knocked over a phone line. Yeah, probably hardest on my kids,
Yeah.
but the generator mostly fixed it. The way that I justified it was like the cost of the generator, because generators are expensive.
Yeah.
The way that I justified the cost was that, okay, if I don't get a generator, I'm gonna have to like replace $500 worth of food in my fridge that's gonna go
And
bad, right?
you're gonna lose 2 days of work.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I guess I could have gone to the worked in Starbucks all day long or something like
I
that.
mean, I'm no accountant, but I can tell you that's probably a write-off.
Yeah, okay. That's a good idea.
Right?
That's a very good idea. Yeah, if I can write off my home office, I should be able to write off. I should be able to write off the generator. I mean, come
Oh,
on.
totally. I would put that under production equipment for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, produced electricity.
Yeah.
There you go. So anyway, but otherwise things are good. The kids are good. Going back to school soon. So yeah, doing well.
Well, stoked to have you on today. And for everyone that doesn't know who Matt Johnston is out there, you want to give us a little background on you, who you are, and what you're doing right now?
I hate talking about myself, but I will. I guess it's a podcast. Yeah, so I have a little bit of a different background. I've had like a bunch of different lives. I'm 42 years old, and every decade's been something new, I feel like. I started by directing theater in New York City in my 20s. I did that pretty much all through my 20s. Went back to grad school at 30, got a master's in journalism, and that's where I sort of started like the whole online media thing, which eventually ended in marketing, branding, and advertising. But it started in journalism because I was running. I was a news editor at Business Insider, sort of managing all the content across the site, hundreds of headlines a day. Um, and then I moved on and ran some big video teams. Like I built the video team at New York Magazine, Men's Health, Women's Health, Prevention, Runner's World, and then I was at Now This for a while as well, building a few video teams over there before I started my business. So I sort of was in that journalism realm. I was always sort of in video, branding, all that type of stuff, and just driving traffic, right? Like organic traffic was my whole life for years and years and years. Like, because at these organizations, we didn't pay for anything. We were just, the whole point was build gigantic organic presences, right? So yeah, we did that. I eventually started a business as a creative agency, Guide Social. We work with 17 Shark Tank clients, all these innovative e-commerce businesses. That was our sort of jam. And yeah, that's my sort of little Cliffs Notes background.
That's awesome. And tell us about what you're doing now. And I know you've got this fancy new shirt on right now for ReFrame, but I'd love to hear what you're doing now, and tell us a little bit more about it.
I mean, I think that the I mean, when I was sort of thinking about like where, you know, like how like what the biggest problems were that I could solve in the online marketplace. There's so many people in it now, and there's just, if you're anything like me, like your social media feeds probably feel a lot like people just like sort of shouting at you, and also just a lot of sameness. And like as I've gotten older, maybe I've gotten grumpier and I've just started to get really disillusioned with the sameness that the internet creates, right? Like some people celebrate how diversified we become because of the various perspectives of the internet, and so everybody can publish their story. But I find that that's often not the case. What I find is that the internet in its current format has mostly made us all feel so in need of validation that we all try to be like everybody else. And then the strongest of us, or the people with the strongest wills of us, or the strongest ideas, sort of rise to the top. And we have a bunch of people that we're always trying to emulate all the time. And we're hyper focused on how we look to everybody else. Right. And so what that ends up doing, I think, in a damaging way, is it has sort of on a personal and cultural level, I feel like it's made us essentially lose our individuality in a lot of ways. And it's hard to see, like on a consumer level, like a cultural level. I worry about my kids spending all their time on TikTok, if they do. They're too young, but and on Instagram and stuff like that, because I feel like they're essentially, the whole purpose of those things is to validate yourself and to basically look good to everybody else. I mean, like if you're chasing likes, you're just chasing validation. There's no real business reason to do any of these things, right? You just want to be seen, which feeds into some of these like basic things we all want to do as human beings. From a business sense, it's even worse, because what it ends up doing, like what this sameness has ended up doing, is it's causing so many really well-meaning people and well-meaning businesses with good products to be incredibly unsuccessful, because they can never find their audience, because they're just, it's not that they're too afraid to be bold, it's just they don't necessarily know how to be bold and how to have the identity that they need to have to stick out. Because there is because all the advice that we have out there is, you need to do what works. You need to follow a proven model. You need to follow a proven system. You need, you look at somebody who is in a position where you want to be, you emulate that person, you emulate that business. But what that ends up doing is it ends up making everybody exactly the same. So I am thinking to myself, okay, how do we fix this? Right. And, drawing on my background, here, I mean, I've been positioning or framing things my entire career. I mean, back when I was at Business Insider, I was in charge of 300 headlines a day, driving 60 million unique visitors every single month to one of the most traffic uh, content sites in the world. And I understand what people will click on and what they find attractive, right? And I've been working on this through my career, and it sort of dawned on me one day that this is what's missing. These systems that I use to frame and position things all over the world are the same things that what are you doing, buddy? Oh, that's good. Did you draw that?
Yeah, I copied it.
Holy crow. That's really good, buddy.
Wow. Future art
Yeah, but it
director right
looks,
there.
I know, dude. That's great. Nice job. High five. All right. So, Yeah. So anyway, I saw like I saw an opportunity to use essentially the same system that I've been using to reframe smaller pieces of content and use to reframe entire businesses so that they can stick out in marketplaces and get market share back, market share that they deserve, right? Like, and that's where sort of reframe came from, right? And it's become this methodology and this system that I can take brands through, or that any brand can go through on their own, and sort of instantly become the Apple of their niche. Like, that's the idea.
That's awesome. So walk us through, like, if I wanted to use Reframe, how does it exactly work? Like, how does it work? Like, what do I do?
There's so it's really based on what I call like the seed framework, right? So this is the system that I have that you need to take yourself through. It's something of a checklist that when you go through it, it on the other side of it, you should have something of a statement, a reframe statement, an identity that can now start guiding everything that you do. And this is not like something that anyone has probably gone through before. And when you start doing it, I mean, you may say, "Oh, I've repositioned my business before." This is different because this process asks you to have guts. Like, you're going to have to get out of the middle, and when you get out of the middle, you're going to have to stand for something. And so that's how you take yourself through these steps. So SEED, it's an acronym, stands for specificity, empathy, elevate, and divide. Okay. And the first thing with specificity is you need to ask yourself, okay, how do I not cast a wide net? How do I cast the right net? What is my singular promise, like my singular value proposition that sets me apart? Okay. It needs to be a razor sharp, right? So you can't say things like, I help people grow on Instagram, right? You can't say things like, I help businesses make more money with ads. I help businesses, uh, whatever. Like, that's not enough. It needs to be a razor sharp result. If there is anything in the idea of framing that can help you become sexy and attractive to anything that you see, it's specificity, right? So if we just take this on a micro level and we look at how this applies to, like, let's say a piece of content, right? What's a more attractive piece of content, right? Is a more attractive headline something like, uh, let's see, the other side of the wall was shocking because it was filled with dirt? Or is it, you won't believe the disgusting thing I saw on the other side of the wall, right? They're different because one is teasing to one very specific thing. But by actually giving you more information, I make it more attractive. So it has to be specific.
Intriguing, and
Yeah.
just there's a level of curiosity with
Yeah,
an interest.
curiosity.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep. We call it curiosity gap, right? The specificity allows you to create a curiosity gap. And with headlines, I used to, in my first book, Producing Empathy, I talked about this concept called click expectation, which is that people understand what they're going to get on the other side of their click, and that makes them want to click more because they know what they're going to get, right? Which is why broad statements and headlines where you don't understand really what's on the other side of your click, nobody's going to click that. They're going to click something specific that says, you won't believe the single biggest problem that coal miners have every single day. That's better than a headline like the coal miner's dilemma, you know, which is the kind of crap we see all the day, all the time, by some like big media brands, right? You see that kind of stuff all the time. But it's this specificity that drives it. And it's the same thing for your business. It really comes down to this specificity. So what's the singular result that you have. I have a private client that we went through this whole reframe process with today, or the first stage of it, right? And what we ended up coming out with is that they help people like break the 7-figure ceiling was the specific result that we helped people get to, right? Because before, he like runs a social media marketing agency that specifically focuses on influencers. So the messaging before, in the frame before, was something along the lines of, we help get your brand seen through the power of social media, right? It's like, I don't care, right? But but if you can actually have that specific result, like, I help small brands break the 7-figure ceiling, that's much more attractive because they can see themselves in it. They've future paced to that moment. They're like, whoa, yeah, that's exactly where I want to be. You've already made me more interesting than just somebody who just says, I help get you seen, or something like that. So that's the first piece of seed. It's specificity.
By the way, I'm
Um,
literally taking notes on this right now. This is great. This is
yeah,
awesome.
it's cool stuff. It's cool
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah, yeah. I mean, I put a lot of thought and testing into this over the years. The second one is empathy. So empathy, I believe that empathy drives everything on the internet. It drives every click, every video view, and it drives every purchase. So empathy, obviously different from sympathy. Empathy means feeling in others what you have felt yourself, or at least that's my definition of it. And that's why I called my first book Producing Empathy, because that book was all about how to make people watch your videos online and how they can go viral. And I believe that empathy is what helps them do that. People identify with certain pieces of content emotionally, and that is what makes them share that content, because you don't go viral by just simply being watched. You go viral by being shared, right? That's what
Yeah.
virality means. It has to be shared person to person.
You either think it's
So
funny, it either has an
yeah,
emotional connection to you, it either represents your values,
yeah,
right?
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. And more importantly, you feel like you need to either get the validation or just the good heartwarming piece of it, that you want someone else to see it so that they can feel what you felt. So by sharing that, they win, right? So that's how something goes viral or whatever, is because of that empathy, right? So
By the way, I have a great example of this just from yesterday. I don't know if you heard, but did you hear about the fires in Maui that like took out the city of Lahaina?
no, what happened?
Okay, so the whole city of Lahaina right now is completely gone.
Oof.
Like on the west side of Maui, these firestorms ravaged through, and like in the middle of the night 2 nights ago. And the first time I actually heard about it was like people sharing it, sharing videos of what happened on social media,
Yep.
you know? And when I think of why someone would want to share that is because of empathy for a situation,
Yeah, absolutely.
right?
Absolutely.
It's, yeah.
Yep.
And honestly, it's so interesting, Matt. I've never heard anyone break down why something would go viral like you just broke down, ever.
Yeah. It's psychological and it's emotional, right? Like, things go viral instantly because we respond with our hearts before we respond with our minds, right? So like, if someone's going to share a video, for example, do they usually share that video after they're done watching it? Probably not. They share it in the first 5 seconds, right? They immediately see it and they're like, holy shit, I gotta share that with somebody, right? And because like it almost doesn't exist. Like, it's almost like I never saw this if I don't share it with someone, right? So there's that empathetic psychological thing that happens, and it hits your heart before it hits your mind. And that's what's so powerful about it. That's why it's empathy, right? It's really fascinating stuff. So from the business side of things, it's really understanding your customer and what emotional state they are in and where they can be transported to. And this is not marketing stuff that you've never heard before, right? You've heard of problems and pain, benefits of benefits, right? And that's what we're talking about here. But what we really want to understand is, where are you right now, and do I understand how you feel right now because I have felt that, and does my messaging reflect that, right? So after you've gone through specificity and you've figured out your like single value proposition, that single result that you drive, empathy connects it to an emotion, right? Because specificity is always very much oriented around that direct, almost logical result. And we couple that with empathy so that it makes people feel something and feel understood, because we want to buy from people who align with our values. So empathy allows us to feel like, oh, one of us, right? That's one of the most powerful drivers of purchases, you know? So E is elevate. The second E is elevate. Elevate's about going beyond the basics, right? So this is a huge mistake that most businesses make. They talk just about what they do and not about what the result of what they do is, right? So if you do social media marketing, you don't want to talk about the fact that you do social media marketing. If there's one thing that you remember about Elevate, it's how do you sell a vision instead of a product, right? Don't sell a product, sell a vision, right? So, for example, when I went through that with my social media marketing private client there, we were going through it, and usually he would say something along the line, "Hey, like, what do I do? Like, what do we usually do? I just need to talk about what I do in a very like small thing, right? Oh, well, what I do is I build social media marketing channels that drive results across the board and increase brand awareness, right? I mean, that's boring. Like, I don't actually want to increase brand awareness. I want the results of that increase of brand awareness. I don't actually want to use social media marketing. I want the results of that social media marketing. I don't actually want people to buy from me, even. I want the results of people buying from me, right? Whatever those things are specifically for your group. That's where empathy, once again, always sort of permeates all of this. But instead of I do social media marketing to increase brand awareness and drive purchases, instead, what we came up with him was a bigger vision statement, which is building an online brand community that will buy from you forever. Much better, right? It's a vision because people can picture themselves. First of all, we sort of coined a term in brand community, and that's always good. I never heard anybody say that before. So we've coined this brand community term, and you want to build this, and it's going to make people buy from you forever without you doing anything. So it's a vision for what you will do for people, right? It's like an old thing from this old Eddie Izzard stand-up routine from years ago that I saw, where he did this whole bit about how people don't even listen to what you say. They only listen to how confident you sound when you say it, right? Like, so much of it is in the presentation, which is why we go through this reframing process. And then the last D is divide. And this is a really tough one for people to wrap their minds around because it takes balls. And that's why nobody does it. And that's why everyone is getting sucked up into the muck, right? You need to
That's
stand
why
for something.
everyone's just doing what everyone else is doing,
Yeah.
right?
And it's
Yeah.
nauseating, right? It's
Yeah, it's
nauseating.
annoying.
Yeah. It's, and
Yeah.
it, but I think the thing that drives me most crazy about it is I find myself doing it too, because these things feel like cultural, like, if you don't do this, you're ostracized, right? And because we can all see each other all the time, because of social media, like, we all just end up going to the middle like a herd of sheep. So you need to take a moment, man up or whatever, woman up, and you need to stand for something. You need to like plant your flag in the sand and say, I stand for this and I do not stand for this and that. So the idea behind divide is the middle ground is crowded. You need to take a stance. You need to solidify your convictions, your brand's convictions. You need to decide firmly that you don't care if half of the people that hear you hate you, and you need to polarize. Not for the sake of polarizing. These should be things that you really care about, that really matter to you, right? It's not a risk. Polarization is not a risk. It's a strategy. If you work with any early career business owner, this scares the shit out of them because they're just like, oh my gosh, I just want to sell to anybody that will buy from me. I'm in this for money, right? But by doing that, you're selling to nobody. And this is going beyond the whole marketing advice of, you speak to everybody, you speak to nobody. I mean, yes, that's true, obviously. We're taking it another step and divide. We need to divide people. We need to polarize people. There was actually a study that showed that polarizing content online gets shared twice as much. Why do you think that is? Because polarizing content is inherently empathetic to the audience that hears it and loves it, right? Like, it's not just run of the mill stuff that they hear every day.
Yeah.
It's stuff, it's like, oh yeah, I was just talking to my wife about that last night. Hell yeah. Right? I'm going to share that content, right? Because I bet you there's other people like me. It's
Yep.
like a
It's
rabid
almost
fan
like
base.
polarizing. Yeah, polarizing content, whether you love it or you hate it, is like the cold hard truth. But that truth obviously is the truth to someone's values.
Yeah.
Whether they connect with their values directly or they hate the values of that truth that's being presented.
Right.
Yeah.
But you don't have to manufacture it. And it's not like, oh, like whether you hate or don't hate polarizing content. Every person has the ability to make polarizing content or polarize. It's just that they're too freaking scared. That's what it
Yeah.
is.
Everyone's afraid to piss people off.
You have opinions.
Yeah.
I have opinions.
Yeah.
My son has opinions. My wife has opinions. Everybody has an opinion. And a lot of them are very like hard fought opinions that nobody has ever even heard because they're afraid to talk about them out loud, because they're afraid that they'll be ostracized. But if you are willing to put yourself out there and and yes, you will be ostracized by some groups of people, and you will be adored by other groups of people. I mean, obviously the most obvious example is Donald Trump, right? He was not super popular and he did not become president by being in the middle. He became president by polarizing the hell out of people and making his base fall in love with him and his values, while the other side hates his guts and thinks he's the worst thing to ever happen to America, right? But he won the election, right? So, how do you win your election, right? How do you win your market share? You need to dare to be different. You need to, if you have a small business, big business, whatever you have, you need to sit down. You need to say, what do we stand for? And as soon as you start seeing yourself neuter your thoughts, you need to go back and think again about the idea that it's okay for people to hate me, because people will find all sorts of reasons to hate people. Right? Just look at all the hate crimes across America all the time. People hate things for all sorts of superficial, ridiculous reasons that have no grounding in logic. There's always going to be people that hate you. Stand up for what you believe in, dare to polarize people, and you will win. But you can't go halfway. And that's the hardest part. You can't just go halfway. You have to go all the way. Right? Because there's nothing in the middle ground. But you'll leave everybody in your tracks overnight. I mean, if you start standing out like that, you're going to get attention. You'll get negative attention and you'll get positive attention, right? But all those people in the positive attention space are people that would not have bought from you before because they didn't see you. Now they see you, and they don't just see you, they empathize with you and they love you. And now they're going to buy from you. And since you're aligned with their values, because people buy because things are aligned with their value systems. So since they are aligned with your values as well, more than just being a customer, they're like, I believe in what this company believes. They're going to have a relationship with that brand. And that's the beauty of ReFrame, is that you can do that in a single statement, right? You can do that in one act that people will never forget, and just be that and embody that. And you'll bring people back forever, right? Nobody's doing this. Very few. Gary Vee is a great example of this. He polarizes people all the time, right? Because he's super crass and he's loud and he's obnoxious.
And he uses a lot of profane language. Yeah.
Yeah, he's extremely polarizing. And there are a lot of people just as smart as Gary Vee out there about business. A lot of people. But they're not getting the attention. Why is he getting the attention? because he's polarizing people. Not because he was loudest, not because he was smartest, not because his ideas were best, but because he polarized. And there are countless examples of this over time. So that's the seed framework. And this is what you need to go through to reframe your business. You answer these questions and you should come out of this looking at this and being like, yeah, I understand what I do, why I do it, and who is going to follow me and who is going to run away from me, right? And you can take that to the bank. So that's how it works.
That's awesome. So if someone wants to use the Reframe framework, what do? They go to reframe.io. That's the site.
Yeah, you can go to reframeit.io, reframeit.io, and I've made a little tool that you can use to that I've taught some AI how to help you build a reframe statement. So that's what I would do. I would go there, answer the questions truthfully, and then see what you get. Right, because I think that you'll be sort of surprised, because I think a lot of people, when they use this tool, they see their potential reframed statement and they're like, oh my gosh, like, wow, that is so much different than what I talk about now. It feels bold. It's always going to feel really bold, because you have to be bold, right? Even the biggest brands, like, what's the most popular brand in the world? Apple, right? Like, trillion-dollar company, right? Apple is extremely polarizing. Extremely polarizing. A lot of people, like, I was 3 years old when the 1984 commercial happened, so I don't remember it, but we read about it. That was the most controversial, one of the most controversial commercials of all time, the Apple 1984 Super Bowl commercial. And then just think about the uncompromising things that Steve Jobs did when he was running that company. They don't want you getting inside. You can't modify anything. The inside needs to be just as beautiful as the outside. Later on, they started soldering all of the parts directly into the machine, so you could not change the internals. Whereas Bill Gates and his PC friends are like, well, you can swap and change out whatever you want, build your own PC. Steve Jobs and Apple was like, I am building a piece of art that you use and you do not change. Right? Because you don't really own this. We own this. We created it. You're going to be a brand ambassador for us every time you open up that lid and you see the Apple logo. Extremely polarizing, right? I mean, you just go to Reddit and you'll see how many people hate Apple because of how unified they are in their vision to make this untouchable stuff. They never do discounts. People hate that, and other people love that, right? They don't. All their products are 3-4 times the price of the average market, right? Some people hate that. Some people love that. Super polarizing. And this is a $1 trillion company, right? Just think about what you can do with your $20,000 a month business, with your $10,000 a month business, with your $3 million a month business. Just think about what you could do and what you could achieve, right? It's amazing. It really is. So yeah,
That's awesome, Matt. Well, thanks for
I'm
sharing.
just going off. I'm going off.
And hey, if someone wants to work with you, like in general, like how can the listeners work with you if they have a brand or a business right now and they're looking for a reframe and they were looking for some support?
I mean, well, so the first thing that I would do is to go to reframeit.io and go through that process, right? And then obviously, like, you could find me directly on LinkedIn. I'm happy to have a chat with you there, and we can talk about what might make sense for you. But I think it would be good for everybody to first go through and see what we're talking about here.
Awesome. Great.
Yeah.
By the way, besides work right now, how's the CrossFit life?
It's good, dude.
Yeah.
It's good. I mean,
Are you staying consistent?
Yep, I'm still go every day. We had a really fun competition on Saturday. We did AM classes versus PM classes. There were like 40 of us. We did like 3 events,
Oh, very cool.
and it was super fun. We won. We got to put pie in the face of the PM people. It was great. I think my biggest problem, because I'm getting stronger, right? Like I easily beat my clean PR on in that competition. Like I'm feeling good. I just got to get my diet in shape so I can lose some weight, man, because I can't do the gymnastics stuff.
Yeah. You know, it's funny you say that is my plan was when I got back from Europe and my
Yeah.
girlfriend's whole family was in town. Once they got out of town, I was going strictly to a meat and fruit diet. So I've
Yep.
been on meat and fruit this week, and I'm going to eat a couple veggies here and there, but I feel great. I'm like, I know I'm going to shed some weight.
Yeah, nice. I'm going on I've been dabbling, and then I'm gonna go big on carnivore again and see how that
Yep.
goes for me.
I'm
I
pretty
like
much carnivore with some fruit and a little veggie, but yeah,
yeah.
I love it, man. I mean, I had meat cereal for breakfast. I had grass-fed ground beef for
So
breakfast.
what does that mean?
Literally, meat cereal is grass-fed ground beef
Yeah. With anything in it?
in a bowl.
Just ground beef in a bowl. You use like paleo powder or anything like that?
I put a little salt and pepper into
Yep.
it when I cook it. That's
Yep.
it. And that with a banana was breakfast. And element. Have you had LMNT, by the way?
No. It's tea?
Okay, go no, LMNT it's literally
Oh.
LMNT is the
Uh-huh.
brand. They're a D2C, like, electrolyte brand, and I'm telling you, this stuff is
What is
amazing.
it like? Does it
It
make you
is
feel more awake? Give you energy?
it gives you like, think about this, um, most people don't realize that they're extremely dehydrated, and the main reason that you actually get brain fog, fatigue is in headaches is because you're actually dehydrated.
Hmm.
And you're not dehydrated. A lot of the time people are like, "Oh, I'm just not drinking enough water." No, a lot of the problem is you're actually not retaining enough water.
Right.
And one of the reasons you're not retaining enough water is because you're not taking enough electrolytes. Electrolytes from the majority is salt. And absolutely love it. Like my girlfriend started taking it and I had a couple packs and now I'm hooked to it. It's so good.
So it's just like a packet. It's like powder that you
Yeah,
put
it's
in
a
water, mix
packet.
it up.
It's a packet. Yeah, it's kind of like, some of those other hydration packs, but there's no sugar in it. It's just straight electrolytes and
Yeah, that's
salt.
good. A lot of those have sugar.
Yeah. And it tastes good and like I said, the big problem with a lot of these electrolyte drinks is the carbs and the sugar inside of it. This is just straight electrolytes in a powder. You mix it in the water and boom. So I've been taking that every day plus meat and fruit diet. I'm really excited. And also, like, I don't think I'll ever drink alcohol again. Maybe on special occasion,
Yeah.
but I'm just completely getting rid of any alcohol. Like, and I literally want to be one of those people that if I do have a drink, it's greatly enhancing it at like cheersing at a wedding or having a sip of wine in Napa or wine country on vacation. That's it.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
That's great. That's great, man. Yeah. You've been going every day? CrossFit? Doing it?
Been going every day. Yeah. And actually yesterday I surfed in the morning and I rode my bike to the beach with my board, surfed, barebacked it. The water's nice and warm. It's like a bath water right now. And then went in the afternoon. So it's great. And I got a spearfishing trip planned this weekend to Catalina for bluefin and yellowfin and going with some buddies. So just staying active,
Killer.
cutting out the alcohol, and trying to just get super focused. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That's I mean, like it's hard to do it. It really is. And I struggle with it a lot. But like if you can fix that stuff, it will really improve. Like I always say, like if you could just cut out alcohol, get that diet focus, go to bed at a decent time, you will make way more money. Like if that's what you want to do, like you're an entrepreneur that's trying to make more money and you feel frustrated, if you fix those things, it will fix other
It's
things because
it's
your
so
mind
funny
is
that you say
so
that. It's
important.
very simple. It's sleep, hydration, diet, exercise.
Right.
Bingo.
Right. Right.
Yeah,
Right. Of course, life throws lots of wrenches
for sure.
into it. So, for being real, of course, it's easier said than done. You know, I wake up every morning with really good intentions about these things, and but yeah, no, you're totally right, man. You're totally right. We are doing other CrossFit sessions, so we'll have to
Yeah,
get that on the
I know.
books here in
I
a
can't
couple
wait
of
for the next
months.
one.
It's been a while.
Yeah.
It's been a while. Yeah.
Well, cool,
Yeah.
Matt. Well, I'm gonna put the links in the show notes below so everyone can access it. But thanks for coming on, man. I mean, I'm so happy to hear like what you're doing. I really truly value our friendship, all the trips we've been on, work trips in the past,
Same here, buddy.
and enjoy masterminding with you and keeping consistent. So I'm super excited to hear what you're doing with Reframe, and I can't wait to see what it becomes.
Thanks, you, my brother. Appreciate
Yeah.
me having on. Appreciate you having
All
me
right, man.
on, even.
Yeah. I'll talk to you later.
All right.
See ya.
Later, man.